Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a Faceless Void build for patch 7.33d, and before I jump into it, just like I said in the last video, I made a guide, an in-game guide, an in-game build for every single hero in the game, and even weird builds that, no one really plays, or like weird positions. So like Lion mid, I always use that as the perfect example. No one ever plays Lion mid, but it is a thing. I mean, you can do it. Just like every single hero, if they've ever played that role or it's possible, I made a guide. I made an in-game guide for that so that you can be like, okay, what would the ideal be if I wanted to actually do this? Even if it was for fun, even if it was just an unranked, whatever. What would the way that I build this here? What would be the way that I build this here if I wanted to stomp my lane? If I wanted to stomp a game with Lion mid, how would I do that? And so that's what I did for every single hero in the game. So go use those and, give them a thumbs up or whatever. That's how you make it, this percentage go up, that kind of stuff. And spread the word if you want to. So hopefully people use these more and more. Into the future. That's kind of my plan, is to keep these updated as well, because I think I have more diversity than some of the other people, obviously, that have been making them. They're more about like pro guides and how the pros build, but mine's just more like for pubs. What would the ideal be if you wanted to stomp games? So that's my philosophy on that. Now let's jump into the Faceless Void build for this patch. And like I said before, I'm probably going to do one for all the heroes I think are really powerful, all the like meta heroes for each role in this patch, and each patch in the future probably. So Faceless Void, I think, is basically the other carry that is the best carry. I think Slark is the best carry right now, and then I think Faceless Void is the next best carry, and that's because all those other carries, like obviously Medusa is still good. Yes, the Universal Heroes are still good, but I think for pubs, for like lower MMR pubs, if you want to play like a stable, good, traditional carry that's not just like a meme, cheesy, weird, like this is the broken meta pick, Faceless Void is that, and I think Faceless Void will just like allow you to stomp games. I mean, I have like an 80% win rate on this hero and Slark in the last like month. And I think because in the D patch, all those other heroes that were good got nerfed and Faceless Void didn't, I think he's just like the best hero right now to just make sure that you can carry games, because I just don't see how in lower MMRs you're not going to be able to get to your late game timings and just win the game. Like you just will every single time. So that's Faceless Void. Now let's just jump in and see, what am I building on the hero? How do I build this hero generally? And you'll see the starting items are pretty much just simple and straightforward for almost every agility carry. It's just Quelling Blade, Tango, Slippers, Circlet, and 2 Iron Branches. And just like I said in the Slark one, you're pretty much always going to be buying Wraithband and Magic Wand first. This is just what you do. And yes, you can eat your Iron Branch with a Tango if you need more regen. That's not ideal, but you can do it. And if you just really are never hitting anybody, you obviously don't have to finish the Wraithband. These are all things that are options, but in almost every game, I would finish this one first, then finish the Magic Wand, then go straight into Power Treads, and you're pretty much good there. Now, the next 2 items for early game, these are like the farming items for this hero. And you pretty much have a choice between these 2 items. Now, there are occasions where you will go both, but ideally, obviously, if you are going Midas, I would say you just go Midas right after your treads. I would even say sometimes I go straight brown boots into Midas and then finish the treads after. I will often do that, I think, because I'm just buying Midas in most every game. And I think probably in most pubs, you should just buy Midas. That's really what you should do almost all the time, because I think you can just get away with it. This here is really hard to gank, really hard to kill, and you don't like farm especially fast. That's why you build these farming items, because like you can't just like, you don't have a wave clearing spell. You just kind of go up and hit them. You hit the waves, you hit the camps, but yeah, you just like, that's what you do. So I think buying Midas is always good, and this also allows you to win games when you're behind, because if your team lost all the lanes and now there's not much space to farm, you're still going to keep your farm up, you're going to keep your levels up, even if the map is kind of closing in on you, and then you'll eventually get that big chrono, that 1 or 2 big chrono, those late game chronos and those late game items, and you will be able to win the game because you bought that Midas. Because if you don't buy the Midas and you have to hit all these camps and stuff, and the map closes in on you because your team lost the lanes, it can just feel a lot harder on this hero. So anyway, that's why I buy Midas all the time. I only buy Mask of Madness if I feel like I have to jungle a lot, and like I either not lost my lane, but it didn't go very well, and the map is closing in on me, so I just have to jungle. Like there's no option. I can't hit lanes all the time. Like I'm going to have to jungle, and then I will go back for a Mask of Madness again. But then regardless of which one, or if I get both, I will go for Maelstrom every single time, just because this also helps you farm, and it's just adds your damage because you do eventually complete the Mjolnir later for that attack speed. So you always get Maelstrom like right after either Midas or Midas and Mask. You can also skip the Midas and go Mask, but like I said, I would almost never do that. And then I do have Shard here. You can buy the Shard early if you feel like you really need it, but if you don't need it and you want to go greedy, I would go straight into BKB or even straight into Mjolnir, then BKB. So this order is a little bit, with depending on the game, but you will buy pretty much all of these items right away. Now, the only one that you wouldn't buy is Ag's Shard. Like, if you really feel like you just don't need it at all, and you just want to hit these other timings of like more damage and survivability, and you don't really need this, you don't have to get it. But I would almost always get it, like, at least after getting, completing these 2 items. And then from there, that's the core items. I think you should do really well with that. I mean, that's like a lot of damage. That's a lot of survivability. You should be really good. And then from there, if you hit this point, you're probably going to win the game, because any of these items just like make you this like ultimate late game hero that is so hard to deal with. So I will say Scotty is really, really good if you just like need to hit somebody. You need to be tankier, but you also need to hit someone to like reduce regen. That can be really good. But honestly, if you buy Mask of Madness, you'll probably just go Butterfly Satanic. That's probably what you will do in almost every situation if you bought the Mask of Madness. Now, obviously, you don't have to go for either of these items if you didn't buy the Mask of Madness. And then later on, you can go for Refresher and Ags, and honestly buy Refresher pretty early. Like, I might buy both of these and then Refresher or something, but you can buy Refresher as like, you have BKB, you have Mjolnir, and you have Hand of Midas, let's say. So you have these 3 items as like your main ones, and then even maybe a Mask of Madness, maybe not, but then I would buy maybe like one more item and then Refresher Orb. So like maybe Butterfly, maybe a Satanic, and then get Refresher, or like maybe I would complete these 2 and then buy Refresher, just because that second ultimate can literally win you the game, and you don't want to like wait till 60 minutes to get it. You kind of want to get it like 40 to 50 minutes if you can, and that will just like literally win you the game. Having 2 ultimates kind of crazy. But then ideally, obviously late game, Ag Scepter is really good as well. And then finally, for the situational items, we have MKB, again, against heroes that pretty much you need to hit them and they have evasion like PA. That's pretty obvious. But I would also, if I didn't go Mask of Madness and I didn't want to buy either one of these for whatever reason, honestly, you can just straight up go MKB regardless. Like, even if you don't necessarily need to hit somebody with Invis like a Wind Ranger, you can just straight up buy this regardless. And then Nullifier is really good. I think you will get this in a lot of situations, because there are a lot of things like Aeon Disc. There are a lot of saves for people in the chrono. So if that's the case, where people just like are able to decrepify somebody, let's say, in the chrono, you definitely want to buy this, because, or like Wind Ranger can get Wind Run off or whatever. If you don't have one of these items, that can be really bad, that kind of stuff. Or Omni Knight, if Omni Knight ults, all that kind of stuff. This is a really good item if you need to deal with one of those things in your chrono that just stops you from hitting people. Manta Style, don't buy it often, but it can be very good. It can be good survivability if there's just a silence you want to purge that you don't want to have to pop BKB. This is pretty much like, if you don't want to just have to pop BKB for certain spells, you will buy Manta, I think, because you don't want to like waste your BKB just randomly. Like, let's just say they initiate on you or something happens and you just, you have to pop BKB, but you don't want to pop Chrono. That can feel really awkward. Then Moonshard, just like a crazy late game item. Lincoln Sphere is obviously if there's like something that's going to really like a duel or something like that. I think that's like the biggest one is duel these days, because Legion is popular. Silver Edge and Bloodthorn, you don't really buy these like ever. I mean, I just almost never would buy these items. I just think all these items are better. You can buy this if you need a break, and this is almost like a meme item that you could buy if you really wanted to silence somebody, but I don't think that's something you're going to be doing often. But anyway, that is the ideal build. Like I said, this is like a lot of the items that you would want to buy, but like these 2 items are very, very good, and then some of these are situational as well. So that's Faceless Void, and like I said, once you get to the late game and you get this Refresher Orb, like if you get a Refresher Orb on Faceless Void, like you shouldn't lose the game. Like you should just never lose the game if you get to that stage. Now, this is the skill build. This is pretty straightforward. You're going to always get Time Walk level 1. Like, you're just always going to do it. Now, you could get Time Lock for the stun, but that's not good probably. Or, like, you could get Time Dilation. But really, honestly, just play it safe. Get Time Walk every single time. It just allows you to be survivable. If they harass you down, you can jump out. It just is very good. And if you needed to get aggressive, you can get aggressive with this as well. Then I would get Time Dilation. Level 2, just because that allows you to be even more aggressive when there's a lot of offlaners and forward positions that are casting spells. So this is just allows you to get on top of them with you and your support to just run them down with this as well. They're slowed, they're taking damage. It can be very good. It can also just like help you survive too, because you press this and they're not able to spam spells on you, that kind of thing. And then third, you get Time Lock. So then after level 3, you have every single one of your spells. And I feel like this is happening more and more. It's very rare these days, as balance has been kind of shifted, that there's just like carries with a spell that you just never want to get. Almost every carry gets like all 3 of his spells like in the first 3 levels, and that just kind of happens these days because they've kind of balanced everything out to make everything pretty good. And then you're just going to max Time Walk out, because this is just what makes you survivable. Make sure you don't die. And yes, obviously this can be more aggressive if you max your Time Lock. You can farm quicker, you can be more aggressive, but honestly at the end of the day, if you're watching this video, you're probably not immortal. I mean, maybe you are, but you're probably not 10K. So you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. You don't have the perfect understanding of how Faceless Void works. So you just want to always have Time Walk maxed so that you can be survivable, so you don't die. Because no matter how aggressive you get, if you die once, it's just going to make everything worse and set you back like a ton. Even if you get a bunch of kills, dying once is just horrible for you as a carry. So you want to max this out. Then you are going to max Time Lock for the damage, because you do want to have a lot of damage in Chrono once you get some of these items and you hit your core items. And then lastly, we're going to do Time Dilation last. There's almost no scenario where I would realistically skill Time Dilation more. Like, unless I was doing some weird like Ags build where you like jump in and time dilate them and come back. Like, instead of going this like more like Chrono-centric build, I'm going for an Ags build. But I really wouldn't do that these days. I don't think you necessarily need to. And then obviously we're getting Chronosphere every single level that you can. And then you're getting your talents every single time you can. So if we view the talents here, I would say this Time Walk backtrack duration is very, very good. Like I said, we're not really focusing on time dilation, so you don't really want to get this. It's just about survivability and making sure you can, like, Time Walk off that damage and all that kind of stuff. And then again, another one that's just based on survivability, making sure you can jump in and out, all that kind of stuff. Because again, we're not using time dilation that much, and we don't want to max it out till later. So this is kind of, these two are pointless unless we're doing that, like I said, Ags build, which is not really that popular or that good. And then attack speed during Chronosphere, this is going to be the big one. You definitely want to take this. Obviously, time lock damage is good, but really we're focusing on our Chronosphere. This is the thing that's going to make the hero good and win the game. So having more attack speed in that, and your level 20 talent can be very, very good. And this can just like make you extremely powerful. And then if you get that refresher, obviously that's just this ability or this talent just is even better, because now you have 2 ultimates, that kind of stuff. And then lastly, we're just going to do backtrack, because I don't really like the AoE. I don't think anyone really likes the AoE, just because, you used to get it. I forget what this other talent was before it was the backtrack, but the AoE can just be weird because now you're getting your teammates in the ultimate, and it just feels awkward. Like, you almost like never really want to get the AoE bigger. It's almost like it's good, but it actually is almost bad in some ways sometimes. And backtrack is just straight up like broken. It's just broken. You can backtrack like Lion Finger of Death or Lena ultimate. It's just insane that you can do that, and it's basically evasion that they just can't do anything about. It's just kind of ridiculous. So backtrack is just broken. And again, if you get to level 25 and you have like refresher and stuff, you should win like every single game with this hero. And that's why I think this hero is so good, because it's hard to deal with him in lane. You can snowball the game. You can have like insane ultimates that just carry the whole fight. And then you do buy Midas all the time. So even if your team's losing, you can have this insane impact later from like high ground defenses and all that kind of stuff to turn games. So anyway, that is Faceless Void. That is the Faceless Void build for patch 7.33d. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.